Today I'm going to present you EonTech's Fluorion Hepatitis B virus detection kit, and I'm also going to demonstrate to you how to set up a qPCR reaction using this kit. Okay, this is our hepatitis B virus detection kit, and this is its content. Okay, let me show you what the tubes have inside. The first one contains the PCR grade water. The following four, they contain our standards, starting from 1 up to 4. This one contains our reaction mix. It has the enzymes and the chemicals necessary for the reaction. Those are our detection mixes, 1 and 2. They should always be kept in dark. This one contains our positive control, and the last one is for our internal control. Okay, so we do not recommend freezing and thawing multiple times. So if you plan to do the experiments more than 3 times, please do not forget to aliquot the components. Okay, now before we go on with the reaction, we should isolate our standards and our samples either manually or using an automated system. And the same procedure should be applied to all the tubes. And the tubes should be also supplemented with internal controls. Okay, we have our standards and our sample isolated and ready to use. And today I'm going to set up a reaction of 6 tubes. 4 for the standards, 1 for the sample, 1 for the negative control. You can also add a tube for the positive control if needed. And before I proceed, let me remind you that you should always wear your powder-free gloves, your lab coat. The environment that you work on should be free of the contaminants. And the tips that you will use during the reaction should be filtered tips. And the tubes should be sterile. All right. Now I'm going to mix the components and spin them down, but before I go on, I should be sure that all the components are melted down. And after I'm sure, I'm going to vortex them. And I'm going to spin them down very briefly. Okay, now our components and our samples are ready to use. And before I go on, I recommend you to have a PCR form next to you. And this form should contain the components that you have to put on into the master mix and also the volume calculations that you have already done. Okay, I'll start to prepare the master mix by pipetting down the water first. And while doing the calculations, please keep in mind that you'll have a dead volume, so prepare the master mix in an excess amount. Okay. I'm going to discard the filter tip each time I go on with a new component. And after the water, I'm going to pipette the detection mix 1, detection mix 2, and the reaction mix inside to the master mix. Okay, now our master mix is ready to use. We can flick it to mix it. We can also vortex it very briefly. And we should spin it down. Okay, now we can disperse the contents to the reaction tubes. I'm going to pipette 20 microliters from this mixture to my reaction tubes. And the most important part is to avoid the bubbles. Hence, I'm going to pipette the mixture directly to the bottom of the tube. And if the bubbles are unavoidable, then you can just briefly spin them down. Okay, now I'm ready to put my samples directly inside the tubes. Okay, I have dispersed the content of my master mix inside my reaction tubes. Now I am ready to put my standards and the samples inside the tubes. I'm going to start with standard 1 and I will keep going with the rest of them. My tubes are closed now, and each time I put my samples, I'm going to open them up, pipette the sample, and close the tube so that the cross-contamination can be avoided in here. Okay, only for the negative control, instead of the sample or a standard, I'm going to pipette 4 microliters of water and 1 microliter of internal control inside, so with that we can check the reaction. Okay, now our reaction tubes are ready. We have to check for the caps to be tightly closed. And we also have to check if we have a bubble or not inside the tube. Now, if we are ready to go, we can now put all these tubes inside our instrument and start the qPCR program. And I'm going to place the tubes into the instrument. After I'm finished with the placement, then I'm going to close the door. Please don't forget to mark the wells that you have tubes on. And now we can proceed with the software. Here on the software, we have the concentration of the standards, and those are defined as instructed in the kit's manual. We also have 1 well for the sample, and I'm already marked the negative well. Okay, now we are done with the setup. Now we have to start the PCR protocol, and this protocol should be set once again following the instructions written in the manual. And I have already made sure that the Sci5 and the FEM channels of the instrument are selected. So I'm now okay to go on and press the start button.